everybody. Welcome to This Week in Android. I'm your host, Ashley Esqueda, and Mark Jeffrey.
I'm back.
You're back.
I'm back.
Did you save the world with Peter Gabriel?
Yeah, well, we're here, right? So apparently I succeeded, yeah.
I'm shocked you didn't wear your tour shirt.
Well, you know, I did like for half of last week, so now I'm done.
Very nice.
You're happy I didn't wear it, trust me.
Oh, I would have been so thrilled to be like, you're wearing a tour t-shirt. Jeff Ammons, a.k.a. Wolverine, everybody's favorite. Everybody's favorite Apple hater is not here with us. He's off in Oregon fighting robots or something.
Apple robots.
Apple robots, that must be it.
That's it.
He somehow found some sort of Apple robots. Our app of the week this week is OTTERApp, and we have Erik Wood, the owner of OTTER, on with us today to talk about distracted driving and how OTTER is fighting that and combating that and working with a lot of other really cool organizations. So I have to start off and say, last week I made some statements that I would like to comment about.
Did you really?
I did. Okay. I did. So Kenny, can we roll that? An Evo before Oprah, and I understand that Oprah might have a little bit more of an audience than our show does, but I just wanted to say that I saw her talking about the stopping texting while driving campaign and everything, and she just like pulls out an Evo, and I was like, you have got to be kidding me. White hot. So I have to I'm going to take this time to apologize to HTC because shortly after that clip aired, or shortly after our show aired, I got a tweet from somebody at HTC's PR company saying we did not give her an Evo. So Oprah had to give the phone back.
Even Oprah did not get an Evo.
Even Oprah.
Yes.
So HTC, I'm sorry.
So you and Oprah are like on the same level now. Exactly.
HTC, I now feel that you regard me and Oprah as equals, so thanks.
Good to know.
Yes, good to know. But let's do the news.
Oh, news time?
Yep.
Okay, so our first story today, the Sprint Evo 4G gets an official price and date. So the wait, and this is from Android and Me, I should mention as well, where we're getting a lot of our stories these days.
Yes.
At androidandme.com. The wait is finally over. Today, Sprint announced an official price point and release date for the HTC Evo 4G. And that date is June 4th. Users will be able to pick up the Evo for $199.99 after a $100 mail-in rebate, new contract, and premium data buy-up. It'll ship with Android 2.1, but no Flash.
Well, yeah, 2.2. Froyo is full Flash support. I'm first of all, I'm shocked that it didn't, because I totally called that. I was like, it's going to be 2.2.
Yeah, you did.
But I/O still hasn't happened, so maybe they're just trying to like trick us.
So you think there'll be like an update?
If the phone doesn't actually ship with it, I think it'll be within like 2 weeks of the phones. I think
so you think they'll make a big announcement at I/O?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Well, okay. So the Evo 4G has been one of the hottest phones these days, sporting a 4.3-inch screen, dual cameras, mobile hotspot. Oh, that's awesome for up-to-date users. So now you can do tethering.
It has an overdrive built in.
I can tether my iPad to my Android device.
Yes,
since I can't do it with my iPhone.
Yes, you can.
That would be awesome.
But there's some pricing stuff.
Okay.
So which is there's been a lot of talk about the cost. Like, were they going to add pricing? Or?
Yep. So the data premium is a $10 mandatory addition to your bill. And the activation of the mobile hotspot, using the Evo's built-in overdrive, will set you back another $29 extra per month.
You know what? Surprised by that, because first of all, I'm a cheapskate.
Yeah.
And secondly, I feel like I had sort of imagined it being, I knew they were going to charge for it, obviously.
Yeah, sure, of course.
But
40 bucks?
40 extra dollars for, well, the $10, everybody thought at first that was optional. Like if you lived in a 4G city, you could activate 4G, but it's not. It's a $10 mandatory just data. Yeah. Like it's basically for all the data your phone is going to pull down. And then on top of that, if you want to do the overdrive, it's another $30 a month. So an extra 40 bucks a month. To be fair, Sprint used to have the everything data plan that was $99.99, which is exactly what this would make it, including the hotspot and all this stuff. But I just still think that overdrive is too expensive.
Yeah,
I would have said $20. $20 to me was the sweet spot for the overdrive. I don't think, for me, I don't think I'm going to pay for it unless I'm like always on the go.
Yeah.
But some people will easily pay for it because it's an extra, still $99.99 a month for a hotspot for 8 different phones. I
Which
mean,
is pretty awesome.
Yeah, if we had 4G here,
Actually, that's the thing. If you have 8 people sort of sharing that, then that makes
it's
a lot
pretty
more
good.
sense.
Yeah.
So that's not so bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so next big story, HTC sues Apple for patent infringement. So HTC taking the gloves off again.
Yeah.
HTC responded today to Apple lawsuits by filing their own patent infringement claim with the United States International Trade Commission to halt the importation and sale of the iPhone, iPad, and iPod in the United States.
They're fighting back?
Yeah. So the complaint outlines 5 HTC patents infringed by Apple products, but we don't know the specific details on which patents, which is interesting because HTC does not have a deep patent portfolio compared to someone like, say, Palm. So, the way these things sort of work is, everyone's always suing everyone for patents, especially in a competitive market like this, right?
Yeah, remember our lovely little chart.
That's right.
It's a mess.
So so HTC is being very aggressive here with a very
Really
small
aggressive.
patent portfolio. So
Tiny. And one, I think that I had seen something online where they had sort of examined the patents that they were talking about, and like HTC has sort of put out this this video about they have this little history of HTC, and like what they said, like in 2007, I think it's 2007, we changed the way that you use your fingers, like to like operate a mobile phone and stuff. And I just don't know. It seems kind of.
It seems a little sketch, I have to admit. I hate to say it.
It seems kind of like the patents they have, obviously. I mean, if you look at any kind of chart that shows how many patents HTC holds, then Google holds,
Yes.
then Apple holds.
Yes, Apple's
it's
by
just
far
really,
yeah.
by far.
But what about Palm? Where does Palm sit in this?
Palm holds a lot of patents, but now
think
they're owned by HP.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
they picked up their entire patent portfolio.
That is a huge patent portfolio, though. So.
And that's why Apple hasn't gone after.
Yeah.
That's why Apple hasn't gone
They're
after
smart
Palm.
not to go after
it would
Palm.
be foolish of them to
it'd
go
be
after
dumb.
Palm.
So virtually everyone in the mobile industry has patent lawsuits against a competitor.
It's ridiculous.
So not really a surprise. So this whole thing is probably just going to get tied up in court until some sort of settlement is reached.
I wish we could all I wish some judge would just be like, this is completely out of hand.
Yeah.
Like, let it go. Like, and everybody,
But that's never going to happen. That's the way patent lawsuits go.
Yeah, I know. But it's just like, I wish everybody would just, like,
Play
cooler
nice.
heads would prevail and just say, you know what, okay, you can use ours if we can use yours. And, like, because I feel like it curbs innovation.
Yeah.
To be afraid of violating.
I don't think anyone's afraid, though.
Yeah.
There's no result on the end user. There's no result in terms of, I don't think on innovation. The only result is that money pours out of companies and into lawyers' pockets. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah, exactly. A waste of time except for people who make money on this, a.k.a. lawyers.
Yeah, there you go.
Precisely.
All right, so next story. Google Editions to offer 4 million titles at launch. So we knew that Google was planning to launch a bookstore.
I know, we
right?
talked about this
We
last
did.
week. I was so sad that you weren't here.
I know,
was like,
that's my
Mark
story.
the author. Like,
I know,
he
I saw
needs
that.
to
I
be
watched it
here.
afterwards. I was like, oh my God, that's my story. Why was I not here? So anyway, I'm a big book person, for those of you who don't know. Google is launching their own bookstore, much like Apple's iBooks on the iPad, or Amazon's, just Amazon.com, the Kindle store. So just to the thing that's interesting about this is that Google has managed to, Google's got the largest selection of books, bar none. So just to put it in perspective, iBooks, which is Apple's offering, has 60,000 titles. Amazon for Kindle is at 500,000, and Barnes & Noble now has 1 million ebooks with their new store and new device. I can't remember the name.
Right, the Nook, yeah.
So if Google manages to pull this off, they're going to have 4 million titles.
Well, they're saying that they're saying that they, Japan today had mentioned that I guess Google, they reported that allegedly they managed to secure more than 25,000 authors and publishers to participate in this service at launch, when it launches.
Yes.
So,
but how does that number relate to the 4 million? That's why I'm confused.
Well, if you think about publishing houses, they have a litany of different books, different authors, different people. So you're looking at 25,000 authors and publishers who may have
stand up and
a house of novels that can be released under the bookstore.
Got it. Okay.
For Google. So you're looking at through 25,000 publishers and authors, you're getting 4 million different books. Plus, and I think they're in that 4 million, they're counting whatever is not. That the copyright law has actually expired on.
So the public domain.
Well, anything in the public domain
that makes sense.
is also fair game in that 4 million.
So basically, now when the Android tablets come out, which they're about to start hitting in
later this year is going to be
the tablet apocalypse is almost upon us.
The tablet apocalypse, yes.
So, which is good. I mean, we look forward to the tablocalypse. So, and as I've always contended, the purpose of tablets is to read books or watch video, but basically to consume media. Right. So this now puts the Android tablets in an advantage, I would think, over the iPad when this happens. So,
well, if they're pulling down, if they even get close to, I mean, even if they get 2 million books.
Yeah.
Newspapers, magazines, that's double the most that Barnes & Noble has.
Yes. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, the thing that really sucks about the iPad and the iBooks offering in particular is the lack of selection. I mean, I go search for books all the time in there, and there's like big books that aren't in it. And I know you don't have an iPad, so you haven't experienced this. It's just really frustrating. I assume that they're in there, and I can't. Yeah, I'm just like, I can't believe this book isn't in here. It's happened to me like 5 or 6 times. Yeah. So yeah.
That's why I still go buy them. You know what it is for me? I was telling a friend of mine, I will buy ebooks, when there's some sort of function on the tablet that puffs out like a little smell of like fresh paper. Because that's the thing for me. Like, I love the smell of like a brand new book.
Right.
Like, I'm very very, very, my olfactory nerves need that.
Got it.
Like,
so
I need my olfactory
you need the full book
senses
experience.
Yeah, I need the book experience. I'm gonna hold it and. Oh, it would just be so great.
Well, I don't think there's an app for that.
No, there's not. No, there's no app for that. And, no pricing yet on the cost of the books or even how they're going to distribute it. Because right now, for those informed know this, but like for those uninformed, Android doesn't have a platform like iTunes to release books like this on. So I'm thinking maybe at Google I/O we may hear something about like a new
Google's obviously going to have to come up with something very much like iTunes or the Amazon bookstore.
I'm hoping that they come up with something like that because Amazon and Barnes & Noble, the two biggest, already are locked. Yeah. I mean, they've got their own thing going on. Now they could partner with somebody, but I don't see Google doing that. Google goes for it.
Yeah.
I mean, when they swing for the fence.
Oh, remains to be seen.
Yep.
Okay, so next story, the top 3 carriers reject Google's phone store. No Nexus 1 for Sprint.
There's an additional story to this, too, but go ahead.
Is there? Okay. So, in a surprise move, Sprint has reversed their earlier plans to carry Google's Nexus 1. Gizmodo is citing the upcoming release of the HTC Evo 4G as the reason. But the story here at Android and Me says, let's just call it what it is. The 3 biggest carriers in the United States, being Verizon, AT&T, and Sprint, have all rejected Google's approach to selling phones directly to consumers, which is, you don't go into a store. You have to basically order it online, which is... That's crazy.
And we've talked about this. I like to hold a phone. I like to play with it. I want to see what it does, how it feels in my hand.
I think that experiment's been run, and everyone agrees it's a failure. Yeah. So anyway, all the parties involved are probably going to play it cool and say nice things, but really, they're just not into it. The carriers are not ready to give up the sale of a phone that operates. Oh, so question: if the carriers are not obviously ready to give up the sale of a phone that operates on their network, why did they announce support in the first place and then pull it?
Yeah, I have no idea. But
bizarre.
In an additional piece of the story today, as I was driving here, Google announced that they basically admitted that it didn't work.
Yeah.
And that they were going to start partnering with carriers to carry them in the store. So, but I think it's only going to be, because now that the Evo's here and the Incredible's here, a lot of people don't see a need for the Nexus 1 on their own network.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling it's only going to be in T-Mobile. Like you're gonna be able to walk into a T-Mobile store and buy one, but they're going to partner. So it'll just be and I agree. Like some people don't like Sense UI, and that's their choice. Like I have a couple friends who are like, I don't really know if I like it.
Yeah.
But with the Nexus 1, I mean, it's just one of those things where I don't think it's going to go to Verizon, AT&T, or Sprint now because it's too late.
Right.
We have too many phones that are surpassing the Nexus 1 in terms of capability.
Very quickly.
Yeah,
very quickly.
like it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. So this next story, this shocked me when I saw it. I had no idea that it was this close.
Yeah.
Android passes iPhone sales in the U.S. smartphone market. So now Android's out ahead of iPhone. It's finally happened, and it didn't take that long at all. New market research from the NDP Group confirms Android phones outsold iPhone last quarter in the United States. The BlackBerry is the top with 36% market share, or 36% last quarter anyway, sales. 28%. Android has 28%, and the iPhone is now at 21%. So that's
it's awesome,
stunning.
But also, to be fair, the iPhone only is one phone on one carrier.
Yeah, well, that's true, but nonetheless,
which is huge. I mean, for one phone, one carrier, 21% is pretty big. But still, I mean, to pull in, 28%. and to surpass the iPhone in terms of sales.
Yeah.
That's huge for Google.
It is.
And that's huge for Android in terms of people sort of kind of perking up and being like, what's this? Like, I think more people are seeing Android phones in the hands of their friends as opposed to an iPhone.
Sure.
So,
well, I think also that, I mean, we've talked about this on other shows, the cost over time of owning an Android device is half that of owning an iPhone. So just from purely economic standpoint, even people that see other people with an iPhone, they realize they can buy an Android-based device for significantly less.
Right. Now, somebody mentioned in chat that it doesn't count iPod Touch or iPad, and that's fair.
That's true.
But I think if we're just talking about smartphones...
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I think it's got to be phone to phone. That's the way to because there is no commensurate. Well, I guess there is a commensurate. There are commensurate Android devices, but not yet.
I tend to, and I tend to agree with the Android and me where they're asking, like, the real question now, how long can the iPhone remain an AT&T exclusive? With the bad network, with 4G coming, with the Evo coming out, I mean, phones like the Evo coming out, how long is it going to take?
Well, supposedly they're under contract
for
until
5 years.
Yeah, till May. Well, to see,
it's a
5-year contract, so it ends in May of 2012.
Oh man,
yes,
that's a long time.
That's a long time.
That's like, I mean, like I always say, like in modeling, that's like your whole career is 5 years.
Yeah.
Like if you are a model, like your whole career is over in 5 years.
Yeah.
It's like from 14 to 19, and then you're an old woman.
Yes.
Nobody wants you anymore.
Well, let's hope. This AT&T deal is just, I mean, everyone hates AT&T.
Well, it's just crazy to go exclusive for that long. But then again, they were the first person really to break the smartphone barrier in terms of mainstream
probably something they had
purchasing.
to do it, yeah. So we'll never know.
Yeah.
Okay, so next story, Square brings simple mobile payments to Android. So Square is a simple payment utility for everyone.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so the idea is that basically on your smartphone, you can accept credit cards from other people, so just like cash.
Yeah.
So, and you don't, now normally when you are able to accept credit cards, you have to get a merchant account and you have to do all this finagling and setting things up and blah, blah, blah.
Annual fees and like, I mean, just nightmare.
It's a big nightmare. And then you have to worry about chargebacks, you know, if the other person charges you back, then you actually, not only do you not get the money, but you have to pay.
Because you didn't get, because your friend's a deadbeat.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just nuts. So this takes all that craziness out of it. And now, if you just want to pay me back with your credit card, say you borrowed $20 for lunch yesterday, and say you're like, okay, I forgot to bring some money for you. I'll just use my credit card. Now I can accept it from you.
This is really good news for anybody who has deadbeat friends. Because if your friends always go, oh, I don't have any cash with me, I can't pay you back for whatever it is that I took from your house or whatever.
I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, like my friend, I owe him money. So now he's able to like get this app and be like, well, now you don't need to pay me cash. You can just go ahead and like swipe your credit card and pay me. So, and it's really neat too, because they, like when you get the app, it's the app, and then you have to pass like, I don't want to say pass a credit check, but they take your social security number to make sure that you're not like stealing someone's identity, and like, I mean, it's safe in that way. Yeah. And they provide this little dongle. It's like this big, and it's a little tiny square, and you put it in your headphone jack, and that's how you swipe cards.
Oh, I was wondering how they did that.
Yeah, and they send it to you for free. The app's free. Everything's free. And then it's called Square Up. I think you can find it at squareup.com.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's really, really neat. And I mean, if anybody wants to get something like that, I mean, I highly suggest. I mean, I think at the start you have like a limit on how much you can charge in a day, so that you're not like, some crazy shyster isn't like running around swiping everybody's credit cards. But and you can email receipts to like you can either text or email a receipt to whoever it is that you took money from. Like, it's really, really neat.
Nice.
The future of
that's great. I love this app.
I like the idea of like somebody who's an artist selling their art. They can now accept credit card payments on their iPad or on their on their Android tablet or whatever. Like
or books
or whatever it is. You can sell all that stuff. It's going to be awesome. And I agree. PayPal is going to compete with this, if not buy the service. I'm going to say they're going to buy the service within 2 years.
They would be smart too.
Yeah.
So, okay. So next story: Droid does tablets. Verizon and Google collaborating on an iPad competitor.
Big news.
Yes. So Verizon Wireless CEO Lowell McAdam confirmed in an interview that they are working on an Android-powered tablet with Google. So Google and Verizon certainly have had a lucrative partnership with Android in the mobile, with Motorola Droid, for example.
Right, yeah.
So this makes a lot of sense that this would be the next place that they would go.
Right.
Now, there's no details yet regarding release date or specs or manufacturer or anything like that. But, we expect to hear more about this. I bet they're moving pretty fast. And I'll bet it supports Flash.
Yeah.
I would say that'd be a safe bet.
I'm sure if it releases anytime after July 1st, if they're going to release it, it'll have Froyo on it, native.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, I think. I'm looking forward to what the specs are and how it's going to work. And again, like if there's going to be some platform that goes with it.
Yeah, they'll have an iBook store in there, or they'll have Google's version of an iBook store, I would be willing to bet.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so next story, Sprint releases Android 2.1 for the Samsung Moments.
Finally.
Yeah, this is like about time.
About time.
It's an about time story. So there's really not much more to say other than that. So.
Yeah, well, it's just so anybody, if you have a moment, like you just need, if you have a moment.
Yeah, by that you mean the phone.
If you have the phone, the Samsung Moment, just know that it is a PC only upgrade. Like you can't get it over the air. And it will wipe your phone. So be aware of these two things before you go upload 2.1, because it goes from 1.5 to 2.1.
Now, so it blows away all your phone numbers
Wipes the
and
phone
everything?
clean.
Oh.
And Mickey wants to know, where's my Hero update? And Sprint said that they're really pushing to get that out by the end of the month. So fingers crossed.
Wow. Okay, so next story, prepare to be blown away by Froyo Android 2.2.
Yes.
So it's coming next week. Many reasons to get excited, but basically the things that we think will be in it. Major performance boost, obviously. Apps 2SD support. Flash 10.1, an updated Android market. Native tethering, which I'm excited about. And a new desktop. Google employees are keeping quiet, as they're required to. But some of them have been dropping hints. And those hints are basically, you're going to love it. It's amazing.
It's incredible, yeah.
So.
They had the little statue over at the Googleplex.
Yeah, so we're going to.
It had gotten there and it was like all shrink wrapped. And TechCrunch sent one of their like reporters or one of their girls over there.
Yeah.
And she was like taking pictures of it, and then she tried to unwrap it, and security's like, "We are going to escort you out of here if you get any pictures of what's underneath there. Like scram." Like they told her just beat it.
Yeah.
And she hightailed it out of there, but she got some really good pictures. But then I think somebody saw it or saw it leaving wherever it was going or whatever and snapped a picture of it, and it's really cool looking.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really neat because they have all the little like sculptures. They're real tall.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And they've got cupcake and eclair and donut and all that. And then now they've got Froyo and it's waiting there to be unveiled. So I think they might unveil it. Unveil it next week.
Probably.
All right.
That's it.
That's our news. So it's time for App of the Week. So lately there's been a really big push to raise awareness about the dangers of texting while driving and being a distracted driver.
Yeah, something you wouldn't know anything about.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You texted me today from the road because you were late.
I didn't text you. I emailed you.
Yeah, you actually, that's right. You emailed
But my
me
car
on the road
wasn't
today.
moving. It was just sitting there.
Okay.
So Oprah actually, I bring it up over 2 weeks in a row, so weird, recently featured families who lost loved ones to distracted drivers. Katie Couric brought up the topic, said the text and drive issue needed a wake-up call. Yeah. I mean, basically the crusade against distracted driving, especially for teenagers, has become a really big topic du jour. Like, and it's, this is, and a lot of people are like, that's why I love the speech-to-text feature on my Nexus 1. And yeah, like anybody who has 2.1 or higher has speech-to-text, which is great. But for younger, less experienced drivers, that still might not even be enough.
Right.
So that's where OTTERApp comes in. And OTTERApp is our app of the week. It's a Seattle-based software company whose concept was born from a near miss of the owner's 3-year-old daughter by a driver who was preoccupied with texting. Eesh. So, I mean, that's turning lemons into lemonade, if anything. Sure. I mean, that's really, that's amazing. And that owner is here with us today, Erik Wood, the owner of OTTERApp. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Ashley.
And so tell us a little bit about Otter and how it works.
Well, what we try to do is create a comprehensive text management system as opposed to just painting ourselves into a driving safety corner. We really feel like if we're going to affect some sort of tangible change on the roads, it's going to be done from within the texting culture and not sort of with Big Brother type invasive methods either. Legislation and education can only go so far. And then a lot of the software and hardware devices that we've seen are accompanied with words like lockdown and govern and control. And, if you push up against anything in nature, it tends to push back. And I think teens are times 10 in that regard. So What we did is we just wanted to have applicability in the home, office, and on the road. And I think what that does is it allows us to show teens, and especially the highest risk user group, like you said, that we respect texting. I mean, this issue, I think, people are already talking about tipping points on texting and driving and the whole texting culture. And I've been studying this. My wife thinks I'm a nut because I read about 100 to 200 pages a week on texting and driving and texting at work. And I really firmly believe that this issue is in its infancy. You have college freshmen now who have Facebook accounts and they text, and they do not have email addresses. I think I'm so hip with all my email addresses, and I get back to people and I'm hitting balls over the net. These guys, they're not even using email. So, 72% of teens now are admit to texting and driving. So, I just think that people are talking about a tipping point, but we're not even there. I think this issue is really in its infancy, and the way to address it is to give the teens and the young user groups, specifically between 13 and 22 is the highest risk group that we're seeing, is to give them a tool and have them have uses for it other than on the road, and then we'll find that they'll use it on the road. So basically, we're offering a tool and not a shackle, Ashley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was the one thing that I think when I had originally talked to you, the one thing that a lot of teenagers really sort of responded to when they were presented with this app is that it wasn't a lockdown. It wasn't taking away their rights as a cell phone user, if you can. I mean, if you have rights as a cell.
Yeah, but if they feel like it, then
yeah. I'd be like, you're 16 and you have no rights. Like, I'm your parent and I'm taking your phone.
Unless you're 16 and you think very differently.
Then you think very differently, right? But for them, like, it was very much not about control. It's more about, like, we just want you to be safe. Here's something you can use.
It's a carrot, not a stick.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And it does have some teeth. I mean, we have a parental control feature that has a session-specific passcode. And what that does is it engages the parents on the topic with the teens. But more importantly, the auto-reply feature and that functionality, which is, by the way, its own app in OTTERApp. There's just an app that's just OTTERApp for people who want to texting auto-reply app, and it's getting really good ratings and responses. But we've had, my favorite use case right now is a teen who we were contacted by the parents that said that the teenager was using the auto-reply feature to schedule his own texting blackout period so he can get some studying done. So basically, just like I did during this interview right now, I just hit my auto-reply and set it for 2 hours. I said, I just left it on manual. And I said, I'm talking to Ashley with This Week in Android, and I'll get back to you at 5 o'clock. So you can text me right now, Ashley, and that's the reply that you'll get right away. And this teen was doing the same thing. He was not disconnected from his social group. He still feels connected, but he's got the phone there, and the notifications are turned off. He gets some studying done. So that teenager, in my opinion, is going to be so much more likely to see Otter and welcome it into other parts of his texting life, and ergo, driving. I mean, that's where we see teens taking it upon themselves to just hit the GPS mode button, and that's really all you have to do. I did another interview where the person really wanted to see more action. 4 weeks ago, I checked the GPS mode button on my Motorola Droid, and it's just been on. I forget that it's on, but when my car's in motion, it silences the incoming text notifications, and it also silences the ringtones unless I'm using a Bluetooth device. So I'm not fumbling for a ringing phone, and I'm not tempted by that, that Pavlovian need to respond that we have when we hear those sexy chimes and buzzes. There's something about it that I'm not immune to it. I definitely, if my wife or somebody texts me while I'm driving, I admit I'm tempted. So I haven't been for the last 4 weeks, and it just works great.
It seems incredibly, like, we always think about how, like, attached we are to our phones, and I think sometimes we don't realize how attached we are to our cell phones. But then, like, when you have to go without for a little while, you're just like, oh my God, like, I'm missing out. Yeah. I'm missing out on everything. And so I feel like this is sort of a really nice mitigation factor. Like, you're not having to completely cut yourself off from the entire world. Like, people are still getting texts from you, but then on that same note, you're practicing safe driving, and you're practicing, and like you said, I mean, even if you just want people to leave you alone, Like you're just
Right.
like, hey, like
Right.
everybody leave me alone. Like I'll get all your messages. It's not like my phone shut off. I'll get everything and, you know, I'll respond to it in time, but I need this hour for whatever.
Right.
But, and it's and you're hitting the ball over the net. It's just that Otter's doing it for you, and so you can kind of focus on doing one thing at a time. And I think it also tends to promote the idea of doing one thing well with quality results as opposed to doing 7 or 8 things at once with mediocre results is maybe a better way to go. So there's other things that it leads into in terms of quality that, again, I like that we haven't painted ourselves into a driving safety corner, and we're not taking an invasive sort of lockdown approach. We do have some teeth to it with the parental control feature, but I think if the teens and other people can see the applicability across the board, whether you're at home, office, or on the road, it'll become a part of the texting culture. And you know, it's funny you said about the need, Ashley, because I have before when I've talked about this, I've equated texting, when you look at it in the context of big tobacco, it's sort of the nicotine of the cell phone industry. And so I'm a huge fan of personal responsibility. Anybody who knows me knows that that's my own personal philosophy, that I think, you know, that's important. But I do think that there's a certain amount of responsibility that the big cell carriers have in delivering these delivery devices, if you will, to these people. And the stats are just now rolling in on this topic on the highways. And I think as we move forward and more, you know, small sheriff stations and so forth are aware to check texting records before, you're gonna slowly see the statistics becoming more and more alarming. I mean, Utah is at the forefront of this issue with David Strayer, who's been on Oprah several times. He's the sort of the father of distracted driving study. And with Utah, with all their education and being definitely the harshest in terms of legislation, just this week they had an article come out that said that their texting and driving is on the rise. So something has to be done from within, and that's where we saw the need. And the other jaw-dropping part, I guess, which I thought it was priced really reasonably, but it seems like a lot of the competition make it sound like you have to build and launch your own satellite to get one of these systems to work. And ours is $399. And when I tell people that, they say, "Oh, is that a month?" And I say, no, it's $399. You own it. We don't want any of your personal information. Just go use it. And they're really shocked. They think that there's maybe, you know, does this really work because it's only $4? When you look at some of the competition, that's $25 to $99, and they have recurring fees, and you have to manage it from a PC.
And it's a lockdown system.
Yeah. And so I felt like there was a big chasm when I started looking at this after the incident with my daughter, between the efforts of the legislature, the really noble efforts of some of the groups that we're aligning ourselves with on the education front, and then what is actually, you know, tangible results on the road. And this is why I did it. It's just it came to me at 3 a.m. and we're on a tear.
Very nice. So so there's Otter Lite, OTTERApp, and Otter Urban. Like, what are the differences between the three? How much do they cost?
Yeah, what are the features?
Explain to our viewers, like, what different things are included with different versions of Otter, so that they can maybe choose which one would be best for them.
Sure. Otter Lite is basically just a taste. It gives you 3 auto replies in just a default, if you will. It's the original concept for Otter, which is an acronym for One Touch Text Response. So if you have Otter enabled with Otter Lite, and a text comes in, 3 big balloons pop on your screen, and you can just quickly touch them and say yes, no, or, you know, I'll be in touch later. The 3 default responses. And that's more of I think an office thing where people want to be even closer to their text in terms of management, but they just quickly want to, like I said, use that analogy of hitting the ball over the net. That's more of an office type setup, but it does give you the idea of what the rest of the screens and the functionality are. So it's basically a taste. That's what Otter Lite is. Otter Urban is specifically for the user that doesn't have any need for the GPS. Maybe they like to manage their own text. Certainly, while they're driving. I mean, certainly you can use the auto reply feature to manage your text while you're driving. It has the same functionality. It stops all incoming text notifications. So if they're, you know, organized, and we've met a lot of users and emailed a lot that are really into the auto reply apps. We had one guy from Canada who, I thought I had a lot of time for testing, but this guy had downloaded and returned 12 apps, and he got in touch with us and said that ours had the best functionality. He had some questions about it, and I was really pleased with that. But there definitely is a crowd out there that really likes and have specific needs for their auto reply for texting, and so that's what OTTERApp is. It's for somebody who doesn't have the needs of all the GPS and parental control features, and it's $1.99. And then you move up to $3.99 for Otter Full, which has all the it has the one-touch text response. It has the auto reply with unlimited customizable grouped responses, and then it has GPS mode, which, like I said, I just hit that button. That doesn't have anything to do with parental control, but the functionality is the same. You hit that, you can go back to your other apps, do whatever you want. Just forget that it's on, and when your car hits 10 miles an hour, it silences incoming text notifications, and if you don't have a Bluetooth, then it'll silence the ringer. So that's good for adults. And then for the parental control feature is the same functionality as GPS mode, except it incorporates a session-specific passcode, 4 numbers. You type it in, and either parent can have it. They can have their own passcode. And I think that feature is designed not only to really deter teen drivers from doing what they shouldn't be doing on the road. They should be focused, but it promotes discussion in the family. And I really think that there are going to be some teens that are going to be introduced to Otter through the parental control feature. But as they start to see some of the other functionality, you're going to have a conversation with the parent, and they're going to say, let me put Otter on, and it's, don't worry, Mom, I got it. I got GPS mode on. And we really want them to take ownership of it. This is a tool for the individual, and I think that's I'm going to be speaking in June down at a function with the Secretary of Education in California at a press conference down there at a high school that's still to be chosen, but it's definitely one that they're choosing. It's pretty easy, unfortunately, now to choose a high school that has a text and drive fatality. Unfortunately, I didn't realize how easy it was to do that until I was talking to Kelly Browning with Impact Teen Drivers, who's setting all this up in this press conference. They're going to pick a high school, and I'm going to introduce Otter, and I'm going to tell them just that try to introduce it as a tool and not a shackle. And I think I really have high hopes that it can integrate into the culture and just hopefully we can start using Otter like a verb, like Google. Did you Google that? What's going on with so-and-so? Oh, they Ottered me. If we can just integrate like that, I think we have a chance to really affect change on the road, and it'll be tangible results and not just, paper campaigns by the big cell companies that they're running right now to kind of make sure they don't end up on the wrong side of this issue. But I'd like to see something real happen on the road.
Mm-hmm. Now, just really briefly, I know that you had mentioned a number to me last week, and I just for total clarification, I want people to realize how much teens actually text per month. Because when he told me this number, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. That can't be right. So
that's a poll we have right now on our blogs, and it's interesting because we're trying to ask parents what they think their teens text, and a lot of parents we find are auto paying their kids' cell bill, and they're not really looking. But there are many teens right now, over 50%, that are texting 2,000 times a month, and there's quite a few that are over 3,000. We had our first case. This is amazing. This one, I had to read this twice because I really couldn't believe that we had a first case of under 18 carpal tunnel surgery in North America. It was on a 16-year-old boy, and it was from texting. We're also seeing teens that are getting insomnia. They're not sleeping and dreaming, and their grades are dropping. You know why? They're sleeping
waiting
with their
for that
phones.
text to come in. That's what it is.
Yeah, and they're they have their phones in the cradle and they're sleeping with them. Ugh. So I just think that this is here and it's here to stay. And I think what we need to do is, I remember what it was like to be a teen. My wife sometimes says I'm still at that maturity level, but it's definitely it's definitely one of those things that if we try to deny that this is part of their culture, I think we're going to fail. I think we really have to say, look, we respect this. We may not understand it entirely, but we respect that this is important to you. And here's a tool to help you, in your studies, in your social life. And then there's a few dangerous parts of this, and we'd like you to use it there too. Hey. And I think that's a better approach than doing the lockdown thing.
Erik, I have a question. So you mentioned earlier that a lot of kids today are using Facebook instead of email, and I happen to know that even myself, I have a Facebook app on my mobile device. So I'm continually getting notifications about, oh, this person messaged you, that person messaged you. I'd imagine that'd be just as distracting as text messaging. Right. So I'm wondering whether you, recognizing the fact that Facebook is a primary way teens collaborate. Yeah.
Because when I get my notifications on Facebook, I'm like, ooh, what did they say on my comment? And I click on it, I'm like, I want to know what they said.
So I'm curious, do you have plans to expand Otter into Facebook land in some way or shape or form, or?
We would look at that. Right now, we haven't seen as much of that from the user groups we've talked to. We're certainly concentrating on teens, but there's other big user groups out there that people don't think about, like truckers, and they've been a huge target of the legislation out of the federal legislation from Ray LaHood and even state legislations that definitely targeted truckers and so forth. So when you look at the overall culture and what's coming out of it, I think primarily right now we're looking at the smartphones and texting, and if I think there's something that I don't know how we would interface from a functionality standpoint. It would probably be something that we would have to get together with Facebook and come up with something where they would allow their functionality to work with ours. Yeah. But that's certainly, I don't think that's hard to do at all.
Yeah, no, not really.
So to answer your question, it's definitely something that we'll take a look at and it's the same thing with, looking at it's interesting to see the tablets right now that are coming out, and you guys were talking about them. I was listening to your news, and I for a few minutes there I forgot that I was going to be on next. I was just sort of engrossed in your news, but no. And by the way, that 28% of Android smartphones, I was cheering over here. I'm glad Will had my sound off. But in terms of the tablets, there's another technology that we're not sure. We're just keeping an eye on it. It doesn't have applicability because I don't see it being used in the car so much. But certainly if it becomes a primary, either, like you said, with Facebook or texting functionality moves into that arena, we would take a look at having our apps available for tablets as well. And certainly, for example, Otter Urban, if you're not going to use the tablet in the car, but you want some time just to, like Ashley said, read that book. And I'm going to work on that smell, by the way, for the books.
Thank you.
Yes, no problem.
Fresh paper.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like a new book. But if that starts to move in that direction, I think we would move with it. So this is definitely a changing environment. We don't take anything for granted. I mean, we're watching all the platforms and all the opportunities. But I think right now the stats will back me up that the biggest danger we have on the road is right now is texting and driving. I mean, it's right. I just read a study that it's 6 times the legal alcohol limit in terms of impairment. So that, if you don't
realize, I don't think anybody really realizes how impairing it can be.
Yeah, it can be pretty impairing.
I mean, it's crazy.
They study these things, and they came up with in an average, I think it was 6 seconds of texting, you can be looking down, and people won't admit this, but you can be looking down for 4.5 seconds. If you're going 50 miles an hour, that's about 400 yards. Yeah. You think of all the things that can happen on a football stadium. I mean, the problem is that people don't realize, they think they're getting away with it. They think they can do it. And just like the lady with the incident with my daughter, she never stopped. She kept going. We still haven't spoken. She doesn't know how close she came to changing my life and hers. And I think there's this sort of this sort of false sense of that I can do this, I can get away with it, but unfortunately, the wake-up call doesn't come in the form of a little fender bender where everybody does a group hug and they exchange insurance cards. It comes out in the form of a T-bone with glass and metal and steel all over the highway, and so there's no wake-up call. The wake-up call is that it's the end of the road. So
the wake-up call is not waking up. That's actually what it really boils down to. Well,
go ahead, Ashley. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that is like all the time we have with you. But if you are interested in more information on OTTERApp, you can find them online at OTTERApp.com. You can check out all the different companies, different movements, different groups of people. I think like Teens Against Distracted Driving. I mean, there's so many people that are kind of getting on board with this. You can read about it. And if you would like to send any questions to them on Twitter, you can find OTTERApp on Twitter at OTTERApp. And Erik, thank you so much for coming on the show today with us.
Ashley, thank you very much, and thanks for providing a live forum like this where everything doesn't get left on the editing floor. This is really a great forum.
Oh, thanks, Erik.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we appreciate that. And so that was OTTERApp. That's our app of the week. And it's about that time.
It's that time again.
I know. It feels like it goes by so quick.
It does.
It really does. As always, Mark, a pleasure.
Oh, always happy to be here.
Yeah. And, Jeff, you're probably watching this somewhere in Oregon. And I hope you're having a good time dressed up as Wolverine walking around like Portland. You can find Mark on Twitter at Mark Jeffrey.
Yep.
If you feel like following Wolverine around, you can go at Jeff Ammons.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, thank you to our viewers. You guys are fantastic. Good questions. Next week, I have a really, really good interview. Are you guys ready? I'm going to announce it right now because I already know. Mm-hmm. It's the guy who ported Android to the iPhone.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. That's going to be good.
He's going to be on the show via Skype next week. So
that's going to be awesome.
If you would like to send me your questions for this man, hit me up on Twitter, Android Ashley.
That's going to be a good one.
It's going to be really cool. So, and then I have a person in studio coming in 2 weeks for our app of the week. So I'm on it.
You're on it. You're doing
rocking.
Great.
More people love the show. Yep. Like more people are coming to the show, which is awesome. And if you are out there and you own a company and you want to be featured on This Week in Android, you can sponsor us.
That's true too.
Which is pretty awesome.
You can.
What's the contact? How would
email sponsor@thisweekend.com.
Sponsor@thisweekend.com, and you can reach a crowd of ravenous, intelligent Android fans waiting for your advertising.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
We don't have anything on the table.
Not yet.
We could.
We could, though.
We could have your items on our table.
Yeah. If you look at some of our other shows, like This Week in Startups, This Week in Cloud Computing, you'll get an idea of what the ads look like, too. So we really go out of our way for our sponsors.
Yeah. And as Jay Press says, you're always welcome to tweet and heckle me. That's fine, too. I don't mind. And we have other shows.
We do.
If you hit up thisweekend.com, we've got This Week in iPad. We've got This Week in Cloud Computing, Venture Capital, Startups, Twitter, Android, and of course,
the award-winning Kevin Pollak's Chat Show.
Extremely award-winning Kevin Pollak's Chat Show, which is fantastic. Who's the guest this week? Do you know?
I don't know offhand. I don't recall.
Well,
anyway, if you go to thisweekend.com, you'll see it.
It's good every week. Let's just all be honest here, because
it is. It's awesome.
Really great discussions on that, and that's on Sundays at 3 Pacific Standard Time. I can't. I'm flabbergasted that the way it goes
sometimes.
So, but thanks again, everybody. And in 2 weeks, I'm gonna have an Evo. That's like the only thing I can think about. I'm gonna have an Evo in 2 weeks. But that's been This Week in Android. Thanks for watching.